Breaking news, breaking news.
Good evening. Welcome to KMAK's 5 o'clock news. Tonight's headline is Communism Has Collapsed. I repeat, Communism has collapsed. This will bring about a series of changes worldwide. Kevin, what can you tell us about the new economic order as a result of this unexpected development?
Mac, all we know right now is this new economic order is going to consist of expansion between countries, the growth of foreign investments, and the unfettered movement of capital. In addition, we can expect to see the privatization of state-owned businesses, a wave of deregulations, and an emergence of a new breed of cooperations. Over to you, Mac.
Reports are in that support the supports of this new global economy come in the form of technological advancements in communications. The word on the street is semiconductors, fiber optic cables, and satellites have created a fast and furious connection of the market economy. Early signs indicate that these forces are responsible for something called globalization. Would that be fair to say, Kevin?
Mac, that appears to be accurate. Let's go to Allison to learn a little more about the IMF and free trade.
Mac and Kevin, here's a brief history of the IMF and the origins of free trade. The IMF, or International Monetary Fund, was a driving force behind the promotion of market economies, high growth rates, and free trade. Free trade has helped to unite people and goods for over 500 years, as it continues to unite us internationally today. What free trade means is the states can impose limits or constraints on national trade. Now back to you, Mac and Kevin.
For insight, Allison. Now let's send it over to Katie, who will give us a tutorial on GATT and WTO.
Thanks, Mac. Here's what we know about the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trades, more commonly known as GATT. Its 23 founding members signed in 1947, and since then have held a series of discussions centered around the opening up the barriers to free trade. The GATT group, now numbering 123 members, signed an agreement creating the World Trade Organization, or WTO, to take over its activities. The WTO became an organization to hear international trade issues. Worldwide trade grew from a rate of 6.6% per year to 9.2% under the watchful eyes of WTO. Hope that helps, Kevin.
Thanks, Katie. Another key factor in the concept of globalization is the emergence of multinational companies. Some of the key players are General Motors, Siemens AG, Nestle, along with many other, reaching a total of nearly 50,000 companies doing business across the globe. These corporations view the world as a single market and are scouring the planet for supplies, cheap labor, and customers. They are symbols of the new company. Mac, what do you know about these companies?
I do know that while economic globalization has strengths, it also is very precarious and fragile. Economic growth in Asia is a key component to a strong global economy. Allison has some interesting data to share with us. Allison?
Yes, Mac, it is true that Asian economic growth has played a large role in developing the worldwide economy. After World War II, Japan's economy was in tatters, but through financial aid from the U.S. and a population who was willing to work in poor conditions and for low pay, they gained an advantage. The Japanese were able to spend their budget on an export-based economy because they were limited on their military spending. At first, they turned out high-cost labor-intensive materials such as steel, iron, and textiles, but they eventually turned to consumer products. At first, the made in Japan signified cheap, but then it changed into a label indicating high quality. Japan had so much growth that it was poised to overtake the U.S. as the world's biggest economy.
What can you tell us about the Little Tigers,
I
Allison?
think I'll hand that one off to Katie.
The four little tigers are Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. They are called this because they are the most successful mimics of the Japanese economy. They turn their disadvantages into assets to help compete against the other and Japan. Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia have also joined the four original tigers in their quest for wealth and a strong economy.
And the rise of China, Katie?
Funny you should ask, Kevin, since China was another economic success story. At first it was a flop, but in the late 1970s, some previous policies were repealed and the system smoothed out, opening it to foreign investment and new technology. China became a massive power through the use of its massive population to create a pool of cheap labor and a gigantic domestic market. In 2001, China joined WTO and moved closer to global superpower status.
I hate to be a negative Nelly, Katie, but there must be some downfalls to the Asian economies.
Let's allow Kevin to address those downfalls.
Many of the Asian tiger economies went from a massive boom to a massive bust just as quickly as they grew. As investments in these countries grew, many people invested into risky ventures. Eventually, there was a huge scare when the international investment community pulled out. Countries started to fail and the national currency and the stock markets crashed. This happened in multiple economic zones.
So much to think about, and we haven't even begun to talk about trading blocks and their role in globalization. Let's take a break and listen to a word from our sponsors. We'll be back shortly to discuss trading blocks. Milk Bones, good for your dog's teeth. Good dog.
We're back. We know that no single nation is able to control all of the trade, so countries are rushing to establish trading blocks. Let's start with the synopsis of the European Union. Allison, what do you have for us?
Kevin, here's what we know right now. The European Union was created on March of 1957 by France, West Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. The Treaty of Rome established the European Economic Community, later renamed the European Community. This community opened trade and dismantled tariffs. It was transformed into the European Union in 1993 by the Maastricht Treaty. 15 countries have now joined the EU, and 11 of them have adopted a common currency. Let's hear from Katie about the OPEC and another trading bloc.
Thanks, Allison. OPEC, also known as the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, was established in 1960 by Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. They were later joined by Qatar, Libya, Indonesia, Abu Dhabi, Algeria, Nigeria, Ecuador, and Gabon. They collectively control the price of oil. An example of this is when they embargoed the U.S. in 1973 to 1975 to help Israel. This caused an economic depression, and eventually OPEC lost much of its power due to fighting and overproduction. Mac, can you please enlighten us on ASEAN?
Sure, Katie. ASEAN is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It was constructed in 1967 by the leaders of Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Its main objectives were to speed up economic development and promote political stability. In addition, it intended to stop communism. The economic portion of it grew stronger as it connected with Japan and the European community. In 1992, it was established a free trade zone and cut tariffs on industrial goods for 15 years. Kevin is in next with a brief report on NAFTA.
Mac, here's the scoop on NAFTA. The United States, the world's largest national economy, devised NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. The U.S. joined with Canada and Mexico in 1994. It is the second largest free trading zone. It has plans to encompass all the non-communist countries of the Americas while increasing free trade. Allison, there must be some critics of all these trading blocks. Do you have any word on that?
Kevin, the global economy is still not perfect and has bugs to work out just like anything else. The critics say it rewards few and impoverishes many. Katie, can you chime in on this?
Others are saying that the rapid economic development is causing the destruction of the environment, the widening of the gap between rich and poor, and it is making many unique cultures the same. It has its pros and cons.
Signing off. See you tomorrow night.
That's all we have for tonight.
Tune in tomorrow night at 5 o'clock here on KAMK News.